Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to a very special edition of the show. We got two very special guests here tonight. We've got from Queensryche, lead vocalist and sometimes drummer as well, Mr. Todd La Torre, and we've got guitarist, songwriter, bassist, keyboard player, Craig Blackwell. The two of these guys worked on the brand new album together. Todd La Torre, Rejoice in the Suffering. Basically, for the most part, 98% all you guys, right? So welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having us. Big fan of your channel and watch a ton of your stuff. So I've been watching you for years, and it's fun to be here with you, and yeah, it'll be fun.
Awesome. Well, a lot of people really digging this. I think this is one of those albums that kind of came out sort of quietly at first here in 2021, and now everybody's talking about it, which is a really good thing because it's it's been a weird time in music and metal certainly over the last year or so. But so let's talk a little bit about how this came about. So when did you two guys meet? You've known each other for a bunch of years, right? So where did you meet and when, and how did the kind of genesis of Rejoice in the Suffering first kind of take place?
Yeah, sure. When I was in high school, I think I was about 14 or 15 years old. And we had a mutual friend named Russ that played bass in Craig's band. And they were, I guess, looking for maybe a drummer. I'm not really sure. But Russ said, hey, I have a friend that plays drums. They're a couple years older than me. And so Craig came over with Russ. And I think I played something off of Mechanical Resonance from Tesla.
Modern Day Cowboy.
Is that what it was?
Remember the exact song.
You know what? I'm going to let Craig tell the story.
Well, yeah. So we set up the meeting, and then we went over to Todd's house and went up and do it because drums were set up in his bedroom in a little cramped area right next to his bed. And he goes, what do you want to hear? And I said, whatever, man, just play something for me. So he threw on Modern Day Cowboy. You know how the song goes, the guitar piece in the beginning and the chokes on the drums. And then he came in with the song and the beat, and it wasn't 15 seconds. And I went, good, you're in. It's just, I could already hear at the beginning how solid he was and just right in the pocket. So I was like, done, love it, let's go. So.
Yeah, so I joined his band, which was after his last name, called Blackwell. And, they would play like the high school talent show, and it wasn't like a bar gigging band at that point, but anyway, I joined the band. We ended up playing local clubs around here, and I was underage, obviously. And so that was kind of an interesting thing, but nevertheless, just started a great friendship, and that carried through, to today, 30 plus years. And, we actually were another band called Infrared that never got any label, we didn't get signed or anything. And we recorded a full, like a pro demo. I think it was on a tape. It was tape back then. It wasn't even CD. Yeah. And, but through the years, we've, always been best friends and like brothers, and always, I would see him and he would show me something he was working on with guitar or whatever. And, life gets in the way. And, but he used to live here at my house. We were roommates, like when I was like 21 or 2 years old. And we used to have, the drums and the Mesa Boogies and everything set up, and we would write music together. In fact, the intro to the song Critical Cynic is something that we wrote together in our early 20s. And we always thought it was really cool. And when we started writing this, we said, hey, I still like that, that, and so he was like, fuck yeah. So we used that. And that's how we met, was just an audition for his band. And we just been best friends ever since, man. This is the record that we wanted to make in our 20s.
Good to have the time to finally do it all these years later, right? I mean, it's,
I
mean, before COVID, it's not like you had a light schedule, right? I mean, you've been pretty busy since going to Queensryche, right? So
yeah, we're usually gone 8-9 months out of the year if you add it all up. And so, when I'm home, it's like maybe 3 days, and then I'm out for another week, and then I'm home for a week and a half. And like the last thing I want to do is deal with music, and I need to give my ears a break. And I hang out with my wife and our dog, and I see my mom and my sister, and just, normal life, cut the grass, fix shit that's rotting and broken around the house, just regular stuff. And it's really hard to work on something and then months go by and then get in that same headspace. You're a musician, obviously there's a bunch of cool guitars behind you, so you get it. And so yeah, when the pandemic hit, I immediately called Craig and I was like, our 2 shows are canceled. I don't think we're going to be out for a while. This is pretty gnarly stuff that we're learning about. Like, soon as I get home, give me a couple days to settle in, and we're going full throttle on this every single day. And that's what we did. We wrote and recorded the whole thing in 4 months, and wrote everything from scratch minus one song and that little piece I told you about. So
yeah, so 4 months, that's not too bad. Well, I mean, it's not like we all have other things going on, right? For the most part, other than like day-to-day stuff, because like basically life has stopped for everybody. But
yeah,
I mean, I got to tell you, I mean, the album. So you guys not only co-wrote and played just about everything on the album, but you also co-produced it. And a lot of people are talking about the production of the album. I mean, it sounds freaking huge, right? It sounds enormous. And you know what's crazy, and more than a few people I've talked to have mentioned this. It sounds like a 5-person band making this big wall of sound. I mean, you guys must feel pretty proud to think that you guys, it was just you that did this whole thing, and it sounds so immense. And it sounds like 3 guitar players, keyboard player, bass player, drummer, you singing. I mean, it just, but yet it's just you 2 guys. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, and we used to do that back in the day. It would just be the 2 of us, and so we would create full things that sound like a full band. And we recorded between my place and Craig's studio, and we basically just took all the recordings and sent them to Zeus, who is our producer for the last 2 records, and he'll be doing the next one for Queensryche. And his mixing and mastering is like it's supreme. So we sent him everything, and he just made that thing sound like what you're talking about. That fidelity, and just everything is dialed in like exactly how we want those songs to be represented. We feel that I really can't think of a better mix that the record should have or could have.
Right. I agree.
It holds up with, we were saying, we want it to sound as good or better than Firepower. We want it to sound like Gojira, like clean and like solid. And he's done a lot of more extreme metal and stuff. So he's really good with having that separation, without getting muddy when you're talking maybe some down-tuned guitars, bass, all those things that go into it. He's really good with having a very full sound without it sounding messy. And so yeah, we're really happy with the outcome.
So Craig, it must be pretty cool to like read. I mean, I've seen lots of reviews and things, and like I said, I've talked to a lot of people about the album, and people like, who is this guy Craig Blackwell? Where did he come from, and where has he been all my life? Right? I mean, it's like it's an album. I love this term called riff-a-rama. I mean, it's just like just riff upon riff everywhere you look and hear on the album. The soloing is very melodic, yet you get in lots of shred moments. So maybe you could talk a little bit about your background and when you first started playing guitar, and some of your influences and guitars you like to play, maybe some of the gear you used during the recording of the album.
Sure. Yeah. I started when I was 7. My mom's been one of my biggest supporters. And then, as I developed, and then I met Todd. Todd has also been a huge supporter of mine. So it's good to have those close family members and friends to back you up, because a lot of people aren't very supportive of musicians, but I know that, Todd's mom is very supportive. That, they're our biggest fans. So yeah, as I was growing up, I got really into Stryper, Paul Gilbert, Racer X, White Snake, Rat was one of my favorite 80s hair bands, So that's kind of where my background came from. As far as my inspirations, Journey, I could go on and on, as far as all my inspirations. But so yeah, as I was coming up, I discovered Jackson guitars, from Striper, and I became like, oh my God, infatuated with Jackson. So I had purchased a few Jacksons in my early years, and I got real serious with my guitar teacher, Sandy DeVito, who was teaching at a local music store around here. And he had asked me, he said, so give me some of your inspirations, and I said, well, Al Di Meola, I love the jazz, fusion jazz. And I said, but I love Yngwie Malmsteen and I love Paul Gilbert. And he's going, okay, you're talking big time shredders here. He goes,
Yeah.
put your big boy pants on because we got some work to do. So I said, okay. So, yep. So coming up from there, I was, again, working with my guitar teacher. I was actually playing out with him at 14, 15 years old with his jazz band at restaurants around. Here I am, the long reddish blonde hair, and I've got all these old guys, mandolin, and another guy, my teacher, on the guitar, and another guy on a percussion instrument, But so yeah, then I got into the Mesa Boogie stuff, like Todd was talking about earlier. So yeah, I love Mesa Boogie, big in Marshall heads, Marshall cabinets, Mesa Boogie, Jackson. Then I recently discovered Chapman. It's another really nice guitar that a company that they're British, but I bought a Chapman, had my guy work on it, and set it up for me, and I've enjoyed it ever since. As if you've seen the Hellbound and Down video, that's the Chapman that I have in there in that video.
I watch. I'm a big fan of Anderton's TV, so I watch Chappers all the time, and Captain, and yeah, he's a good player. Yeah, he's really
absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of my background coming up, and I still have the same inspirations. Really, I still love Paul Gilbert. I listened to all of his stuff. All the Racer X has come out with some back, 10 years within the last 10 years, they've come out with some stuff, but I still watch Paul Gilbert online. He does, he does his stuff online. And do you remember the band Cacophony with Marty Friedman and Jason Becker?
Yep.
Those two guys blew me away when I was a kid. I was like, what? Like, what are they doing? So yeah, that's a bit of background there on some of my inspirations. So.
But then, he was doing a lot of when we lived here, he would play stuff off of Rising Force, and he was big into the Yngwie, like the neoclassical and all the arpeggios and the harmonic minor and diminished sounds and all that. And then we started getting it. I was showing him this flamenco band called Struns and Farah.
Oh yeah,
which are like ridiculous, because I went to a show to see Keiko Matsui with my mom down here, and they were the opening act, and I never heard of them before. And they came out, and it was just, God, they were so good. And
so good.
And I started getting into them. And so Craig, I would play I would play something, and then Craig would do on the nylon, he would do learn some of the leads, and he was into that. But over the last, if you don't mind, over the last few years, he's gotten big time into blues, which I've never been a blues guy. Craig's, I don't think, really cared so much for blues. Stevie Ray Vaughan, he loves, Joe Bonamassa, but there's some other guys that, when I would see him play, I'm like, okay, you're playing differently than you ever used to play. It used to be, just note for note and just, shredding all the time. And he started getting into a whole other style of playing. So I think on this record, had we recorded this 15 years ago, those solos wouldn't even be the same. It would have been straight up metal, like shred the whole time, where now you can hear some blues licks, you can hear you can hear those influences more as and more space in the notes, which is something we both really appreciate. When I was growing up, I hated Pink Floyd. I'm like, that guy sucks. And I just didn't have the musical maturity at that age to really appreciate Brick in the Wall solo or Comfortably Numb, and just letting the emotion of a single note really beautifully bent, and really appreciate the musicality. It's not all about shredding. Now, a lot of that shredding stuff, Pete, turns me off. It really turns me off. And I like it in little tasty, nice fast run into something, and then get into some spacious melodic playing. So I just wanted to interject that point
Yeah.
where he's gotten a lot more into blues and some other styles of playing that I think are poked through here and there on the record.
Yeah, I mean, I totally see your point, Todd and Craig. You know, also in like the mid-late 80s, I mean, everything that came out on Shrapnel I bought, I was listening to all that stuff, and you know, McAlpine and Vinnie Moore and Malmsteen and the Cacophony stuff and David Chastain, and then, you know, Satriani and Violet. I was buying and listening to all that stuff. And then like maybe like 10 or 15 years ago, I was kind of like, it's like that kind of really fast neoclassical stuff or the over the top stuff just doesn't do it for me anymore. I can appreciate
I feel the same way.
Right. But it's like, I need a little bit more musical. I need a little bit more variety in it. Slow it down just a little bit. And, you know, it's like all that kind of, maybe it's just shred. I don't know. Maybe just shred just doesn't do it for me anymore.
I feel the same way.
I can still appreciate the talent because, quite frankly, I can't play like that, but
Sure.
I don't even know if I want to, right? But it's like, but for me to hold my attention, to listen to that for 45, 50 minutes to an hour on a CD,
Too much.
or to go see it live where it's nonstop. I mean, I love them to death, but I saw the last concert I saw before COVID hit was Sons of Apollo in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And the opening band was Tony McAlpine and his solo band.
Oh,
and I love Tony.
Yeah.
Man, it was like 45, 50 minutes of just nonstop that. And after a while, I was kind of like, I love this guy as a player, but man, I just couldn't, I had a hard time sitting through it. I was like,
loses the musicality. It's you know, it lacks feel, it lacks melody. I like doing it in little bits, and then the rest of it, I like the feel. You know.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of that, you know, we all joke about math rock, right? It's just like a bunch of parts put together, and it's like, but I will walk out of something like in the context of what you're describing. Do you go by Pete or Peter?
Either one.
Okay.
Most people on the channel call me Pete, so that's fine.
All right. So, you know, I want to walk away remembering something. And if I'm always looking for the one, and it's like right when I get into the groove and I'm like, yeah, then boom, it changes to something else. And it's like, I'm with you, man. I have a hard time connecting. I have immense respect for the ability, but as a listener, I don't connect with it like I used to. And same way with high singing. You know, I had seen somebody say, you know, I don't want to mention names, but there was somebody that said, you know, you should do more high singing. And I'm just like, you know, when I was in Crimson Glory, I was singing crazy high stuff. And in Queensryche, it was more control. It was a different thing. I wish I want to get that super high, bam, on demand, crazy stratosphere range like I had 10 years ago. At the same time, I've reconditioned my voice that the technique is different now. And like you, I don't want to sing high all the, I just don't, you know, it's like, I think Yngwie's a great player, but if I watch, and I've seen him live, but after 2 songs, I feel like I've seen everything there is to offer with all the runs and everything. And while the guy's amazing, there isn't really anywhere to go. And so I like peaks and valleys. So when I do a bark, I call them barks. You know, like in Vexed, when I go pandering, you know, it's like that Crimson Glory thing, that Queensryche. You say you don't feel safe alone. Those little barks, like, okay, it caught your attention, but I don't live in that space. And otherwise, it's just like, okay, you're just singing high and like character. And I'm actually a baritone when I talk. Normally, my voice is down here, but I pitch up because it's easier and it cuts through. But you know, my low range is I'm a baritone. I mean, I can go very low. All these other guys are so impressed with the high stuff. But man, when you listen to like Warrell Dane, you know, there's a fatness and a warmth and a resonance around that lower register that I wish I heard more in metal. You know,
you bring Warrell up, and that's let's talk about the whole singing thing, because you actually segued right into my next question. So one of the another thing of many that I love about this album is that you're doing all these different kind of ranges with your voice on this album, which, you know, folks who maybe are only familiar with your Queensryche work would be like, wow, he's going into all sorts of different places here, which to you is probably pretty normal. And you probably prefer that, to be honest with you, I would think. So, you know, you do some of the high pitched stuff, a lot of mid-range, and then you got this kind of, on a couple of occasions, you got this kind of guttural roar and almost like a death metal growl. So it's like you're pulling out all the stops here on this album and showing everybody, hey, I can do all this stuff too. Maybe you don't want to settle into one style, you know? It's like, because I mean, you mentioned World Dane, so there's a perfect example of a guy who early on in Sanctuary was doing all this, you know, through the stratosphere type of stuff. I mean, nobody's going to keep that up for, you know, 5, 10, 15 years, right? And then in Nevermore, he kind of settled into this really cool mid-range that was so unique to him. So so how did it feel to be able to kind of break out and show all these different facets of your voice?
That was something that I really, you know, was looking forward to, because with Queensryche, I mean, aside of a few songs, like there's a song called Hellfire that I did with the band on the Condition Human record. And there's some stuff where I go, you know, piercing screams in my head. And that's got a gritty thing to it. And that's, you know, how I sing high. Because when I was learning how to scream, it was more in the Halford kind of a way. So it's hard for me to sing high clean. It's just, I've always been a raspy singer since I was in my early teens. I used to be able to sing Tesla really well with that certain gritty sound that he's got. I used to do a ridiculous Phil Anselmo in high school. I could sound like almost exactly like Phil Anselmo in high school. But, you know, getting to your point, your question, you know, that was something I just told Craig. I was like, I just want to do whatever the song makes me feel like I want to do. So when I hear Vanguards of the Dawn Wall, I would say like, dude, don't you just hear somebody like Bobby just from Overkill just, you know, having that shrill? He's like, fuck yeah. I was like, I'm doing it. And I would do what I felt. And then it would come to, you know, Hellbound and Down, where I say, you know, how do you end up here? How does it make you feel? I said, I'm feeling like Tom Araya. How would Tom Araya approach this? I'm not going to sing it. I'm going to vocalize this part like a shouting thing. And then, you know, one by one, I know how to do gutturals, and I can do them. And it doesn't hurt me. You know, and I was inspired by Chuck Billy from like Disciples of the Watch, you know, obey or I'll put you to that cross. When he would say cross, it was like cross, you know, the way he did that sounded so cool. And I was like, all right, well, I want to do something like really brutal. So we did that. And then Crossroads to Insane. So yeah, having all these different, you know, and then Darkened Majesty has a very Queensryche-ish clean chorus, which I just thought, I remember calling Craig going, hey, is this two apples and oranges in the same song? He's like, dude, I like it. I was like, really? He said, yeah. I said, you don't think that it's too contrasting? And he was like, it's contrasting, but I still dig it. Like, I think the chorus takes the song somewhere else, and I think you should leave it that way. So I said, okay, I'm gonna leave it that way. When we put that first song out, I said, okay, the initial people that are going to listen know me from Queensryche. Maybe they won't dig the verse, but maybe the chorus will appeal to them. So it was like, all right, let's show everybody like a song that has kind of a lot of different things in it. But I really wasn't looking to cater to that audience. I'm looking to expand into the more thrash metal heavy side, because I don't really consider Queensryche a metal band. I mean, they pioneering progressive metal band, okay, but in today's sense, I consider Queensryche to be a melodic hard rock band with metal elements. But I wanted to go toward that demographic that thinks I can only sing, you know, Jet City Woman, and that I don't have what it takes to deliver, like, you know, something they might or probably would like. So, you know, I that was one of the biggest things, was people don't know what to expect. And it's like, I don't have a solo history behind me, just the Queensryche stuff and like what I did with Glenn Drover. And there's a few things out there, but for the most part, a full body of work, people just had no idea what they were going to get. And then when you play through the songs, it's like, you know, I'm not a one-trick pony, and this record proves that, you know.
A lot of variety.
Yeah.
So, Craig, a couple of weeks ago, Todd and I were chatting on Facebook, and I think Todd, when we talked, I think I had just gotten the CD like a day or two before, and I was like, man, this thing is freaking heavy. I was like, I put this on, and I'm like, am I listening to like an Overkill album I never heard of, or a long lost Nevermore album or something? I mean, or maybe like a long lost Halford album. I mean, this thing kicks some serious ass, and I think that most people were surprised at just how heavy and in your face it actually is. Yeah. And I think, and you know, I mean, I've talked to plenty of people who are like, this so far is like the heavy metal album of the year.
Hey,
I'll take
on board
it.
with that. Yeah, we'll
right?
take that.
And you know what, Pete, I couldn't have done this record. People say, you know, you could have a vast array of picks that I could call a guitar player that's known with a name and like kind of do that. And I was like, look, with all due respect to the great guitar players out there that I know that are famous, this is not about that. This is me and my best friend who's badass, who deserves to have people hear his playing and his songwriting and his, you know, because we co-wrote the record together. But make no mistake, 99% of the music on the record, Craig wrote. Now I would interject and tweak a riff. I mean, I wrote most of the guitar parts for Darkened Majesty, where I showed him, hey, you know, and then he did the chord progression behind the solo. But all of those riffs that you hear, I mean, he sent me Crossroads to Insanity, the song, and I was like, oh my God, this is a home run. Like, let me dig in on this now. And like the next day I recorded vocals and sent it back, and he was like, this is killer. We wrote that song in a couple days. But he is the unsung hero. It's my name because people know who I am and they don't know who he is. I think I'm more excited, Pete, for Craig, because I've got to do this a few times with Queensryche now, and I'm forever grateful. But just like Matt Laporte, who was one of my dear friends who played with John Oliva's Pain, he died. He's the one that introduced me to the Crimson Glory guys, just to help out as a role playing thing for the show they were going to do. When I did the Prog Power guest performance, I was a nobody. Nobody knew who I was, and I remember that, and I want that for Craig. I'm hoping that other bands that are known, or a solo artist that's known, says, hey, Craig, you want to do a guest solo on this record? Or, hey, you want to do a co-write on some stuff? I want that for him, you know, and I couldn't be more proud of Craig. And he worked. I mean, look, when we were sent those mixes over to Zeus, he's like, dude, I hate to tell you this, but you got to retrack all the bass. And Craig was like, we're like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, listen, dude, you need to go through this other preamp or whatever we had to do. And Craig was like, okay. He wasn't like, what the fuck? He was like, okay. And I told him, Craig, this is the big boy show now. This is the real deal. Like, you're going to be exposed to the whole world in a way that you never were. Now, he did work with Circle to Circle and co-produced a record and did some co-write. He played on some whatever, you know, he's done some stuff, but in this area on a global scale, nobody knows who he is, but they're learning who he is right now pretty quickly. And I'm super happy for my best friend to see positive things about his playing. And you know, I have to credit most of the songwriting goes to, you know, to this. I could have picked another guy. It might have been a great record, but it wouldn't have been this album.
Yeah.
And this record is
personal to you two guys together, right?
Yeah. It's again, this is like, you know, the record we always wanted to make. And, you know, it was really easy because we do we do the guitar talk with our mouth.
We have our own language,
you know, and I can say, hey, you know, and he can, do the little squeal, you know. And so I can talk the part on the phone with him, and I'll say, hey, do that, you know, like I can palm mute with my mouth. I can open. He can hear. He knows all those subtleties. So when I tell him, hey, I got something in my mind, like you know, whatever the guitar part is, he knows exactly what I'm thinking and saying, and he can deliver it like on the fly. And it's so easy to just translate those ideas that when, you know, when he would write a riff, like he showed me Vanguards of the Dawn Wall, I was like, this is sick. And I wasn't like, well, let's try it this way, let's try it that way. It was, that kicks ass. There's no need to try to rework it. Let's move on. And as a player, Pete, you can understand, you want to cross your T's and dot your I's, but at some point you have to put the paintbrush down, or you're never going to get out of your own way and you're never going to finish anything. So that was something we were very disciplined about. Like, that's great. Sure, you could rewrite it 100 different ways, but it doesn't need fixing. Let's move on to the bridge. Let's move on to the chorus. Let's move. And then we went back and we would refine and tweak a few things. But, you know, Craig's the Joe from Rat Pack calls him Craig Riffwell. You know, because he just, and you know what? I'm always like, my vocals suck. You know, I sound like shit. And Craig will be like, you know, dude, I fucking hate my guitar playing, you know? And I'm like, no, dude, it kicks ass. That's sick. And, you know, so we're our own worst critics, but we're just really happy that you're taking the time to talk to us about it. We're really thankful. And you have a really great audience that takes stock in what you say. In fact, one of my best friends, Eric Lorman, he created the TLT logo. Yeah, the actual initials, not the Ouroboros, but the TLT. He created that for me, and he's a huge fan of your show. And actually, he's like, you know, I've gone out and purchased records based on his recommendation, because he respects you, and like, he really appreciates the critique, not criticism, but the critique of a body of work. So we're just really glad that it's making a splash. I think a couple days ago it was still number 4 on Amazon, which is great. And you know, our sales kicked ass. I mean, we sold about, I know on that first week we sold about 500 copies less than accept. So
wow. Well, you probably should have easily gotten a couple hundred copies from people who watched my review of it. I'll tell you that much, because there was a lot of people.
I hope so. Yeah. I guess I owe you a percentage.
I think it's funny. You know, you were talking about before how you guys talk to each other in that little guitar speak thing. That really warmed my heart, because I do that all the time when I'm talking to people. It's like, yeah, you know that song that goes dun 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 dun. Oh yeah, no, you mean the other part that goes. So we talk this weird language, right? And most people look at like, what the fuck are they doing, right? But we know, right? We know.
Yeah. And I'll do it with drums. I'll be like, you know, you know, and we'll talk about bass drums. Like, I'll be like, yeah, I like the do, not. Yeah. We like try to mimic the beater hitting the head. Do. All these stupid little things. But
yeah, most people like look at you like, what are they talking about? I don't hear any difference in anything they just did, but we know, right?
Yeah, like Craig would say, like, okay, I'm going doom da do ga doom ga do ga, and I'll be like, I want to go doom da add the triplet in there. So we do the same. He'll be like, oh, what do you think of this? And he'll mouth the same thing. And I like, yeah, it's a language that same as you, same thing.
Yep. Very cool. So, you know, just in case anybody from, like, say maybe Frontiers Records are watching this show, Craig, you'd be ready and willing to join some kind of cool new superstar project on the Frontiers Records label, right? With some other.
I'm open to anything. I you know, I love music. I love writing, participating, you know, helping out. That's really what I've been doing, you know, behind the scenes a lot, helping out, you know. Like Todd said, I was executive producer on Circle to Circle. What's the name of the record? I can't remember the name of the record. Seasons Will Fall.
Is that the last one? The one before that? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. For some reason, I can't remember the name of the record, but yeah, Zach and Todd introduced me to Zach. And, you know, I we became decent friends, and we started working together. I was helping him produce a whole record, and that came off pretty good. I ended up writing a song on the record and playing on it. Do you remember the remake of the Metal Church remake that Todd sang a duet?
Yeah, he did the mix on that.
Fake Healer. I also played guitar, co-played it with Kurt Vanderhoof, and I did all the leads on that. So yeah, that's that's kind of where I've been. I've been kind of behind the scenes working. I love helping people. I love just music in general, and anytime I can help write or participate in some way, I'm always open to do that. So sure, yeah. I mean, anybody that would love to do something, I'm down.
Cool. Well, like I said, we got a lot of people watching this channel, and I'm sure people will have their eyes on this show. So
and always know that
we're a really good guitar player who can write and produce, and
Todd and I never stop writing either. So we're always doing something.
Cool. So if you guys had an opportunity, obviously not at the moment, but if you guys had the opportunity to go out and play a couple shows, could you put together a band and then take this out and play it live a couple times?
I'll be glad to answer that one. That is in our thoughts. We do have some people that we can't elaborate on yet that are willing to jump on with us. But yes, if I'm totally open to that. I know Todd would love to do it. The issue that on Todd's end would be finding little gaps in the Queensryche schedule to be able to do that. But yes, that is something that we are definitely thinking about, because I would love to.
That would be fun. Yeah. I would love to. I wouldn't want to do like a full blown. I mean, I couldn't do a full blown tour. It's not going to happen. But in a perfect world for me, it would be, let's go to Europe, play about 5 really high, good profile festivals. Yeah. From Bang Your Head to Alcatraz to, I mean, I don't think I would get on the Wacken bill, but maybe, who knows?
Sweden Rock, maybe.
Sweden Rock, or there's a bunch of great festivals over there, and I know a lot of those promoters and people. To go over there, do 5 or 6 of those, and maybe 2 club shows, and come home. Like 10, 12 days over there, come back. If we could do something up in the New England area, like when Testament or Overkill rolls through, I would love to be able to call Chuck or Alex or one of them and be like, hey, dude, if you have a package tour, like, I get it, but maybe I get first slot or something to just bang out a ridiculous 30, 40-minute set. Yep. And then just kick ass and then get out of there and just have fun playing those songs. I think it would be a lot of fun, because it's a different animal than, I want to see a pit. I want to see stage diving. I want to see fucking headbanging everywhere. Like the shit I like at a Queensryche show, it's not a rowdy audience necessarily. It's a different animal. I want to be, playing a gig where I can stage dive off into the crowd and people, I love, I want to fucking get nasty,
Todd wants to go full throttle.
Yeah, but I'm getting old. I think I got a torn rotator cuff, and
no, you're not old, man. You talk to me about old. Come on.
So, at some point, and look, the guys in Queensryche are super supportive. Good. I mean, they're totally cool about it. Like, Michael's showing me a bunch of demos, like some other side thing he's working on during all this too. And he had a guy singing on something, and I was like, oh, cool. I'm like, I remember that song. Like, it was something I couldn't do anything with. I just, some things you don't connect with. And I said to him, man, it's really cool to hear like somebody else take one of your songs and bring it to a place that I couldn't, and it's all like brotherly love. It's so cool. Michael's like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna do a video of me playing your cassette in my cassette player in my home stereo. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Like, he just brought it up on his own. So having the support of those guys, look, I'm not leaving Queensryche. That's number one. And it's always gonna be number one. But if there's a little pocket of downtime and we could go play a couple shows,
why not?
We would love to. Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys can do it. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So in parting here, so what's next for Queensryche in the immediate future?
Yeah, so we've already had 2 kind of big songwriting sessions. In fact, I just took a couple of the guys to the airport on Sunday. They'll be back down next month again for about a week and a half. And so right now, gosh, we've got probably 25 songs in various forms. You know, having Zeus here in real time while we're writing and he's capturing it all. We don't have to like man the computer. So it just, and he's got, you know, you know what it's like, Pete? It's like, we'll spend so much time doing pre-production where we'll go through all of the songs and we have the piles. Like, here's the definite pile. Here's the maybe pile. Here's kind of the shit pile, but maybe there's like some nuggets in there that are worthy. And maybe we take a bridge and it could fit somewhere. And it's like like a Frankenstein section. And we'll spend, you know, so many, you know, 2 weeks on that sometimes, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever. We're trimming all the fat off now so that when we get to pre-production, it's just a few tweaks here and there. And it's not spending all this extra time, like figuring out arrangements. We're working on arrangements as we go. So I have a ton of songs on my computer right now that I have to start writing lyrics for and melodies for and all that. So, you know, hopefully we'll get into the studio later this year and have a whole record done. And, you know, I think by the time, you know, herd immunity can be reached and it makes sense to properly tour, you know, we want to release that like when we can get out on the road with that. So, you know, it'll be next year. We're not going to put a record out this year. It'll be next year sometime, I would say the earlier part of the year, I'm thinking off the top of my head. Okay. Yeah, so that's going really well. And, you know, still, it's been a year since we played, actually a little bit over 1 year since we've played. So, you know, it's like, okay, I hope I got a voice here, but it'll be really fun to get back on stage again and just, you know, be with the guys in a real setting, you know?
Yeah. Very cool. Well, we look forward to the new music and hopefully another tour. And but in the meantime, Rejoice in the Suffering is here. Something to hold everybody over till then, and a different beast altogether, put together by Todd and Craig. It's quite good. So if you haven't gotten it yet, you haven't heard it yet, go and check it out. It's on Rat Pack Records, and it's a heavy album full of melody, great guitar work and vocals, and like I said, one of the strongest albums I've heard this year. Probably the biggest surprise that a lot of us have heard this year. I mean, I think, you know, we always expected something of quality from you, but I don't think any of us expected how really great this album is. So.
Awesome. Yeah. What's a song that you particularly favor?
Oh man. Well, I mean, I love Critical Cynic. Dogmata is great. I mean, it's a good opener. You guys just go for the jugular right from the bat. But, Hellbound and Down is great. Vanguard of the Dawn Wall is great. I don't know. It's hard to pick a favorite because every song just like steamrolls into the next, and it's just all so good. What's your favorite on the album?
I love the chorus to Vexed. I don't know. There's something about that chorus that I just really like. Oh, real quick, want to give a shout out to Jordan Ziff.
Yes. I was going to say that.
So Jordan, who you know, Pete, he played the second half of the solo on the title track. So Craig starts out the solo, and then Jordan comes in and just fucking slays it on that thing. So, you know, just wanted to acknowledge him for this, chat we're doing here. But
that's
title. I guess that's a good problem. If everybody said the same song, it would mean that would like bother me, because it would mean that there's kind of like just the one good song. So the fact that everyone has a different song or whatever is encouraging, that we wrote some more than one good song.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been keeping this in the house close to the desk for the last like week or so, but I had this in the car for a while, and I'm driving around town and blasting it. This is like one of those albums, everybody says this, but everybody has that favorite album that you put on, and all of a sudden you're doing like 90.
Right.
That's this right now. So, I'm like, I gotta watch where I'm going, like when I'm playing.
Yeah,
this
when I get in my vet and I'll, Dogmata goes on, I'm like, it's a fun one to drive to. Hey, real quick, I forgot to say, Pete, you had asked Craig, we were talking about gear and stuff. On the record, we used, since you're a guitar guy, we used the Kemper for the rhythms, and it was a Mesa Boogie. I think it was a Mark IV. It was a customized Mark IV. And then for all the leads, Craig would you use your EVH?
EVH EL 34.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah,
I have two different cabinets, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but just talking about gear, since you're a guitar player, yeah, we use the Kemper, which I love. Some people are like, they want the real thing, but I tell you, they've got it. If you get a good profile, you can't tell the difference.
Yep.
So
there's so much good stuff out there these days now,
Yeah.
Technology's coming a long way.
I know. I just fart around here at the house, so my little Marshall is good enough for me. It's I just got a little combo thing, and that's all right. Does a trick for me, But
that's all you need.
I mean, Mesa Boogie, man. Mesa Boogies are sweet.
Yeah,
they're expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's why I have the profile. I mean, even the little 50 cal, the little small combo, the 112, whatever that thing is,
$1,200 to $2,000.
Are crazy money. Crazy money.
That's a lot.
But are you in a band? Do you write originals? Do you do anything like that?
I just play for the love of it, and I collect guitars, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like
nobody
me.
Special. Yeah,
That's me.
I just love them. I've been playing most of my life, but I don't do anything serious with it.
What do you like to play?
Mostly, I don't know. I'm more of like I've changed a lot over the years. I used to do a lot of thrash and heavy stuff. Now I just like playing like good like 70s style hard rock, like bluesy hard rock. That's like kind of
Boston.
Yeah, like Zeppelin and Sabbath and
That's cool.
Deep Purple type stuff, and whatever,
Nice.
Cream and Hendrix. I'm a big Hendrix and Robin Trower fan, so I love doing that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, simple stuff. Nothing.
I can't thumb the bass note like Hendrix would use his thumb for the bass note. I can't do that. I don't know if you could do that.
No, I can't either. His hands are freakishly long.
God,
I don't have long fingers. Hendrix had these fingers that were like probably like an extra inch or two on mine. So his, if you ever watch any of that old footage of Hendrix while he's a lefty, I mean, his fingers are just draping all over that neck. I mean, it's kind of freaky when you look at it, and there's not many people that can do that.
All right. Before I let you go, because you're probably on a time crunch, I don't have a fucking job right now, so we could do this all night.
We can do this all night.
But listen, hey, I got two good Hendrix stories. I'm going to tell one of them, and I'm going to let Craig tell the other one.
Okay. So
our bass player that played in Blackwell, his uncle's name was Blair, and Blair used to play bass with Jimi Hendrix on some things. I think I think Russ said that he did some live gigs with him before or whatever. But nevertheless, we were down in the Keys because his uncle lived in the Keys, and he had some old reel-to-reel tape machines, and I got to listen to Jimi Hendrix and my friend's uncle conversing in the studio and talking and whatever. Well, his uncle hands me this Strat, and it's Jimi Hendrix's real Strat, strung. I think it was still strung backward, however he did it, that wacky way. And I've got a picture of it, of me in my lap holding Jimi Hendrix's real guitar. So the part that is going to blow your mind is the pedal, Craig. Tell them the story.
Okay. Yeah. So when we were playing in Infrared, our singer at the time also played guitar, and he was looking to get a noise, because we use the Mesa Boogie heads, and when you turn them up, those are high gain heads. They're a little noisy. So our buddy Russ said, "Hey, use this noise gate, right? This old vintage noise gate he had." He goes, "Just be careful with it. This is actually Jimi Hendrix's noise gate from my uncle's studio."
Why are you using
And I'm
that?
like, what? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
this
Damn
is
thing in a
blowing my
case
mind.
there, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were throwing it in like a gear bag and schlepping it through
yeah,
nightclubs.
yeah.
It was, dude, it was, I remember it was like silver, like
Silver?
stainless steel
Yep.
or aluminum, whatever it was. You know, it looked like a stainless steel case, really, really old, one switch on it, 1 foot switch. And then one day Russ is like, hey, I need that noise gate back to give to Blair. And of course, you know, I'm the drummer. I don't even use that thing. So don't look at me. And they never found it.
Unbelievable. Stupid kids, man. They don't
like-
realize what they have.
I mean, we were like 7, 8. Well, we were probably like 8.
Well, yeah, we're doing we're a little older than that. I think that's in infrared. We were 20.
Yeah, 20.
Well, I was 22,
20.
23. Yeah.
But anyway, he's like, hey, use this. We're like, cool, man. What, you know, where'd you get that? He's like, oh, it's Blair's. He's like, dude, be careful. This was fucking Jimi Hendrix. He gave it to my uncle. We're like, this is really Hendrix's. He's like, you can talk to Blair. He'll tell you it's really, that was Jimi Hendrix pedal. And we fucking lost it.
Yeah.
Realize how much money you could have gotten for that?
Oh my God.
Oh,
Dude,
wow. Stupid kids, right?
Yep.
yeah.
Stupid kids.
Don't know what you got till it's gone.
I thought you might appreciate, I mean,
It's a funny story as well as a tragic story.
it's
Yeah.
tragic. It's tragic.
Yeah. Somebody has it somewhere.
Somewhere, hopefully
Yeah,
they,
but they don't even know what they have.
They don't even know what they
they
have.
probably don't. If they did, it's probably sitting in a rock and roll museum somewhere, and they're sitting with a couple $100K in their pocket in their bank account.
Well, that Strat that Todd was talking about is now in a museum.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
it is?
Or it's either going to a museum or it already is. But I know our buddy Russ,
I
he
didn't
was
know.
gonna Blair was gonna give him that guitar, and then he decided, you know what, I'm gonna put it in a museum because I think a museum offered him some money for it. But
good.
actually, another cool part of this whole story is Blair still has the original console that they recorded with Jimi Hendrix on. He also recorded Michael Jackson's Thriller on it, and a couple other big productions that he still has the actual console.
Wow.
It's in a storage facility up in Brooksville.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool.
Vintage gear with a lot of history behind it, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, Pete, listen, man, I'm gonna let you get. Thank you so much.
Yep. I want to thank
Yes.
Todd La Torre and Craig Blackwell for coming on the show tonight and sharing some insight into this fantastic new album. Like I said, go out and get it. Rejoice in the suffering. Todd La Torre, be on the lookout for hopefully something new from Queensryche over the next year or so. And thanks, guys, for joining us. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. For Todd and Craig, I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, buddy.